everybody to the first inaugural version of the Me On Live webcast with great opportunity for us, and we feel very flattered. My name's James Beagrie. I'm Managing Director of Me On Valley Travel, and I tell you what, it's just lovely. I see so many familiar faces and so many friends here online. It's just welcome, very welcome to see you looking so well and in such rude health, and some very, very, thank you, Roy, wild haircuts in the process. So thank you very much. I'd like to introduce you today to our first webcast. This is relating to a photography tutorial, which is an opportunity that we got when we came into the company of Tina. Now, Tina Knowles, you will see her there waving at you, and she will be speaking with you shortly. She's an award-winning photographer, and she lives in Petersfield, of all places. What a wonderful habitat to hide away some fantastic talents. And she's one that has a particular, I think her own phrase is the wow factor about the photography that she introduces to her own photography, and also that, of course, of all the students and all the people that she helps, both online and direct in one-to-one tutorials that she does and helps people with. We came across her, and I'll introduce you to Karen as well.
Hi, everyone.
Lovely wife, Karen, here, who's the brains of the operation.
Of course.
Karen has fallen into photography, and it's become a particular passion of hers. And so she's then met up with Tina when we were going on. We were very privileged and lucky to be invited on a trip out to the Galapagos Islands, and Karen wanted to get some extra first-hand knowledge, really, on how to develop the composition and make the best of the photography, seeing as it was a chance of a lifetime and a trip of a lifetime, and going to be the one and only time that we were there. So it'd be a great shame just to rely upon snappy cameras. Tina can be found at any point in time on tinaknowles.co.uk, and we'll forward information at the end of this tutorial, in this webcast, that will enable you to take benefit from communicating with Tina afterwards as well. And but the agenda and the time frame today is just for a few minutes to have a chat about how to take great photography, how to get the composition right, and how to make and have that composition can make or break an image. So I think we'll just say at that point in time, I'll just say thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's a sheer joy to do this first one of many, I hope. And over to you, Tina.
Thanks, James. That was a really nice big me up moment. I really appreciate it. So hopefully everybody can hear me. If there is an issue that you can't hear me, then please put something in the chat box so that I know. And without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen because I've got a little PowerPoint presentation, so you don't have to look at my gorgeous face the entire time. You can, in fact, just listen to me waffle on instead. So bear with me a second while I bring up my share screen. Technical. Here we go. And this hopefully means you can now see a PowerPoint slideshow. I'm really hoping you can see a PowerPoint slideshow. Andrew, nod at me if you can see my PowerPoint slideshow. Good. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for joining us on this first inaugural Me On Valley Travel talk, and welcome. I really appreciate it. And I hope by the end of this slideshow, I will have helped you take some better photographs and given you some more tips. So without further ado, one of the things I wanted to say to you all is that the idea that having a phone camera with you isn't really like having a proper camera. And I really want you to stop thinking like that if that's the case, because in fact, if you've got a camera that's probably about 4 to 5 years old or younger, then the camera on it is pretty good actually, and probably better than a lot of point and shoot cameras out there. So what I want you to start thinking about is that your phone camera is a good camera to have. It's also the best one because it's the one that's usually with you all the time. So therefore you can whip it out and take some great photographs. So without further ado, let's carry on. My first tip for anybody who's going to come to me with regards to photography tuition, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this, is the rule of thirds. Now this came back from the old masters. They used to teach their students to paint their canvases by dividing it into 9 equal oblongs and then placing the point of interest onto any of the cross points, which you can see here, Sherlock Duck. But the easiest way to think about that, rather than thinking about a grid, is actually just to place your subject off center, like this local post office in Petersfield. So you can see that the post box is definitely off to one side. It's to the left on a landscape photograph, and you can do something on a similar basis on a portrait photo too. So let's just look at some examples of off-center composition. So I'm not sure, I don't know about you, but on my screen I can see lots of people down my right-hand side. So you may not be able to see the right-hand side of the pictures. Apologies if that's the case. So there's one or two exceptions. This is one of them, but the majority of photographs that I am showing you now are actually taken on my camera phone. So I have a Samsung S9 and I switched to Samsung purely on the basis of the cameras that they produced, because they were, in my mind, were better than any of the cameras out there. I do think Huawei are quite good. I'm not so sure about the quality of iPhones. I've never really used an iPhone, but I would say most smartphones today do have extremely good cameras, and they're just getting better. I mean, how many people these days actually buy a phone on the basis of the phone? Most people choose a phone on the basis of the camera. So more off center. So this is again taken on my phone, and I fiddled around with it in some Snapseed editing, which is an editing app you can get for your phone. And this should be familiar to a lot of local people. This is Southsea Castle, and very clearly off to one side in a square format. This, I won't go into it. This is La Palma, and again, this is Roque de los Muchachos, which is the highest point on La Palma. This is the highest point of the volcano. So again, I've used an off-center rule. So the majority of the volcano top is to one side, and this has been taken on my phone. So I've managed to clip the sunlight on the edge of the volcano just to add some interest. Again, we've put the steam outlet in New York off to one side. So hopefully now you're beginning to get the idea that you can place the main subject off center. What you'll find with focusing on your smartphone is it does it for you. So you don't have to worry about where you're focusing. But if you're not sure whether the camera's focused on the right point, tap the screen on the point that you want it to focus on, and it will actually do that for you. So I'm just thinking I need to bring up my chat screen because I can't actually see my chat screen. Hopefully, Andrew, can you wave at me if anybody's asking any questions, please? Because I can't see the chat screen. Thank you. So my second tip, and hopefully I'm going at a pace where I'm not losing anybody. These are hopefully very simple tips for you to incorporate into your photography. But another great one is leading lines. This is a subway in New York, and it was just super cool, and the lines in it were just amazing. So you can see the lines on the floor from the reflections and the lights above. I tilted the angle, so I drew the eye into the photograph. And it's a brilliant technique because it allows you to take your viewer onto a journey through the picture. You can direct them as to where you want them to go. Again, this photograph was taken on my Samsung. So here we've got a combination of leading lines and a little bit of off-center composition. So some of you will go up the pole to the cable car, and some of you will probably travel along the cable to the cable car. But both cable cars are off-center. The pole is in the middle, but we've got lots of leading lines going on. Here, quite a poignant image of Ground Zero in New York. But again, I've started off-center to the bottom left of your screen, and we've got some interesting leading lines that take you around the monument. So not strictly a leading line, but then again, not a leading line, if that makes sense. So although I can give you all these composition rules, at the end of the day, photography is an art form and it's very subjective. So you go ahead and break the rules if you think it makes a better picture. So there are rules and guidelines, but they're there to be broken if you feel that it's better for your creative shot. So on the left, you've got Brooklyn Bridge, lots of leading lines there. And this brings me on to another type of composition technique, which is central impact. And on the right, you've got the Rockefeller building. You probably can't see it with the screen on the right-hand side, but the banisters offer a leading line going up into the next floor. Hopefully this is all making sense. Give me some thumbs up, guys, if it is. So again, leading lines, these are more examples, thank you. Leading lines, more examples on the ferry and at the World Trade Center. I love the one on the right-hand side with the World Trade Center. It was such a fantastic opportunity for photographs. That ceiling was just awe-inspiring. So it brings me on to the next one, which is central impact. That blue spine on that photograph on the right-hand side is going right down the middle. And then you've got a third at the bottom of the shopping centre. And then either side, you've got leading lines. So you've got several composition techniques into that photograph, and it gives it great impact. So this is what I'm talking about. Central impact, break the rules. If you think a subject looks better in the middle, stick it in the middle. So a bit of New York subway art, and on the right, you've got an observatory in La Palma. So on the one on the right with the observatory in La Palma, I've done two things. Hopefully you've spotted it already, in that the bottom third of the image is taken up by the observatory, and then the top 2/3 roughly are taken up by the sky. So we've got an off-center image, albeit at the bottom of the shot. Who says your leading lines have to go into your image? They could go across your image. And this was a bench, and I took it from above the bench. It's quite funky, and I quite like the pattern on it. So again, I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but I'm also doffing my hat to them as well. So leading lines, central impact, etc. So have a look around. Some very, very simple shots can be taken just from a bench. I quite often teach people leading line technique by the benches that you see out and about. A very famous structure. So two things again here: central impact with Brooklyn Bridge, and who could resist the lure of photographing those leading lines going up to the peak? I mean, you just have to take that photograph. It's almost impossible to get Brooklyn Bridge without people on it. So what I did here was I tilted up my camera very, very high, and I cropped the heads of everybody. So there's people just below the bottom edge of that picture. It was just packed. So in order to get a shot of that bridge without people on it, that's what I did. And it's something you'll find wherever you go. If there is a tourist factor, you have to either incorporate the people into your shot, because sometimes it's impossible to get them out of it, or have patience and take your time, frame up your shot, decide what it is you want to do, and just sit and wait for a little bit. And sometimes you'll get a break where there's nobody there. So I feel like I've gone through that really quickly. I hope I haven't. Those three things, let's go through them very quickly. Remember, treat your phone camera as a proper camera. I do. I'm a professional photographer, and I have other colleagues I know who, when push comes to shove, have had to take photographs of celebrities even at events with their phone camera, and then they've been in the paper the next day. When you stop and take a photograph, think about someone else's perspective. If you're not there to explain what the photograph is about, would they know what they were looking at? Would they know where to travel within your photograph? And you can do that through leading lines and through clever composition. Begin by placing your lead subject off center. Practice that. Use leading lines, and lines can go across the shot. They can go into the shot. They could be a river going through the photograph. Then be a rebel, break the rules, place your subject wherever you want to. Don't have leading lines. If you think it's a great photograph, take it. You can always assess it later. You could crop it or edit it, whatever you need to do. But if there's something that you want to photograph, go ahead and photograph it. And finally, James mentioned it. I do smartphone photography courses, which we will give you some information at the end. So I just want to say thank you very much for listening to me. I hope that was useful. I'm going to do a little bit of technical stuff here to get out of the screen and then release James and Karen. So bear with me a second. Oh, and this is a funny little photograph that one of my previous students sent me, which I thought was hilarious. So she, you can't see it. It says in the bubble, it says that great course, Tina. So thank you very much, everybody. Let me see if I can just get you out of the stop share, and I'll see if there's any questions and things like that. There we go. Shall I unmute you? James, I can't find you. There you are.
There we go.
Oh, have I done it?
You have. There we go. We're back, and I hand you over to Tina. Thank you very much indeed. That's absolutely awesome and lovely and very much to the point. And so very on point. I'll hand you over now if I may to Karen.
Hi everyone. So I'm really lucky because I love photography nearly as much as I love travel. So I thought I'd take the opportunity just to share a couple of my photos with you, if Andy can bring them up on the screen, and talk to you a little bit about the photo and where we were when we took the photo and combine a little bit of travel in with it. While we're waiting, because I have no control over the technology, I just to tell you that Tina helped me a lot when we were just before we were going to Galapagos. I love snapping photos and I make photo books, but I wasn't really sure on all my camera settings and different bits and pieces. So it was a real opportunity to have some one-to-one private lessons with her. And she just gave me the confidence to go out there and take photos because I loved what I was taking and not worry too much about all the technical things. Anyway, the first photo is on the screen now. This is a photograph that we took when we were in Botswana. So we stayed at the Chobe Game Reserve, and this picture was actually taken from the water. So the Chobe River ran past our hotel, and we used to go out every morning along the river, and we could stop at this it sort of came down the hill, and there was this big sand area where the herds of elephants just came down in the morning for their morning water, and they used to come over the top and swing around and take their drink, and then they'd sort of move along slightly, and the next herd of elephants would come down, and then the next herd, and we had up to like 100 elephants coming down each day for their morning drink. And I just love this photo because it has sort of got a leading line, I think, where you can sort of see them coming over the hill. And I think it's just got a bit of a dramatic feel where you can almost feel the movement. And it's just one of my favourite photos. I also got lots of other elephant photos, of course, when they were down on the water's edge. But taking photos from a boat was really peaceful, and we just sat there for hours just watching them. So yeah, so I think that one of the things I love about this picture is it tells a story. So moving on, next one. Andy, can you? Right, there we go. So this was when we were in the Galapagos. The reason I think I like this one, or I chose this one to share with you today, because it's sort of got the third, so it's got that composition where you've got me one side of the screen and then the sea lion in the third, the other side. Again, I think this photo tells a great story. James took the photo on an iPhone. I've got my proper camera there, but he did take the photo on an iPhone. And it just shows you how close you can get to these incredible creatures. I felt really fortunate to go to the Galapagos. It was one of the destinations I've always wanted to go to, and it really didn't disappoint. You go off on boats every morning to different islands, and the people that you travel in your boat with are the only people that go to that island. It's just so well organized. And you step on to this island, and there's just these sea lions and iguanas, and you have to step over them. They're everywhere, and they love posing for the humans. So you can see this sea lion here. He sat there for ages doing lots of different positions while I took photos of him. You just felt really honored to be on their land, and you were the visitor and they owned it. So that to me, that picture tells a story of how much he loved having his photo taken and how very lucky we were to be able to get so close. So moving on. I don't know if you can see this very well. It's a bit dark actually on my screen, but this is Antelope Canyon in Las Vegas, or in Arizona. I was in Las Vegas with my son, and we had previously done the Grand Canyon. So we were looking for a tour while we were in Vegas to get out of the city. And I'd seen this picture many a time on the internet of the Antelope Canyon. And I was always worried because the write-ups always said it was so busy and there were queues, and I just thought we'd get there and we wouldn't be able to really take any decent photos because of the crowds. But that's not the case. The way it's organized, it is busy, but they take you in really small groups through these amazing canyons. They're absolutely stunning. And everybody gets the opportunity to take photos like this. And this was done on an iPhone, and the iPhone was the best camera to take in the canyon. You didn't have, there wasn't the room to set up tripods and bits and pieces. So the iPhone worked, or a camera phone. I mean, I use an iPhone, sorry, so that's why I'm talking about iPhone. But this is a picture from an iPhone. If you're ever in Las Vegas and fancy a day out of the city, Antelope Canyon is absolutely stunning, and I would really, really recommend it to anybody. So the colours just speak volumes. I think it's a really lovely place to go to photograph. And then my last one I'm going to show you is this picture of a whale tail. So we were in Antarctica at the beginning of this year, just before lockdown. And again, stunning photography. I mean, the scenes that we saw of the penguins and the whales, we just got some stunning shots. But this was a good example of the rule of thirds again, where you've got the tail in the top third of the picture. And I think this picture to me just says, however good photographer you are, sometimes you really need just a good subject. And we were just so lucky to have this whale dive multiple times just in front of our Zodiac. We were really, really close to them, and it was just such a privilege. They're just such incredible animals, and we were just so lucky to get such amazing shots. So that was my last photograph that I wanted to share with you, and to tell you a little bit about the places. So any destinations any of you are interested in, if you're interested in holidays there, please pop in and see us, because as you can see, we love talking about travel. And on that note, I'm going to hand you back to James.
Thank you. Well, that was interesting stuff, and we've come to the end of the webcast. I think I just want to say thank you so much to Tina. I recognise why you are award-winning, because you make it sound so straightforward and so doable and achievable for the common man like me. And I know in witnessing how Karen has elevated her photography no end.
Yeah.
Believe me, be very careful, because it does. The next step is a very serious investment in a camera. Make it for both birthday and Christmas together. But I think we've all experienced and had experience of being snap happy and having loads and loads of shots that you never use. We now, as a family, come back from our travels, and Karen goes on to bobsbooks.co.uk and loads these all up online onto books, and then has a book made. So we at home now have a ton of books of all of the destinations that we've kept all our photographs of our own experiences. So at any point in time, if you want to come into the shop, or you want to see about the scenic cruise across Antarctica or anything, we've got our own photography and books for you to have a look at, and just come and have a good nose and a cup of tea. Please feel free to
let us know you're coming, though, because some of the books are at home and I'll have to bring them in for you.
Tina has courses that are available on Facebook and also through her website, tinaknowles.co.uk. So please feel free to visit her. She's a great friend and a dear ally of ours at Meon. We love her photography. And, next on the next event in July, anybody would like to come along, we have a next event which is with our own travel writer, Mark Bibby Jackson. Now, Mark's a celebrated writer, but for any of you or us or any friends that you might have who are budding travel bloggers and want to write about their travels as they hoof it around the planet, then next month, July, we'll be sending out information regarding Mark Bibby Jackson, and you can have a look at his website as well, markbibbyjackson.co.uk, in anticipation, should you wish, and of course Meon Valley Travel, because everybody needs a good subject to photograph. So I just want to say, on behalf of the man who goes along to these wonderful photo shoots on the set of the equivalent of Jurassic Park in the Galapagos, or on Antelope Canyon to see our own screensavers that we see on Google, or to go down to the Antarctic and see join the set of Blue Planet, then you know where to come if you want a bit of advice as to what not to miss. So thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you, Tina, so much for your tutorial. Thank you, Karen.
Can I just say, if anybody has any questions, I know people are beginning to put chats in now. If you want to put my email address up, in fact, I'll do it. I'm happy to answer questions if people want to. Let me just put that in. If you've got any questions about phone photography, then just give me a shout. But I am going to be running the course on Facebook too, and last time I ran it, it was a huge success and people got a lot from it. So either way, hopefully I'll speak to somebody. Thank you.
Lovely feedback. I've just gone onto that chat with all these lovely things you say.
Yeah.
You're lovely people. You can come back again. Thank you. Take care. And most importantly, in the current climate, stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you.